Walk into a real medieval tavern and forget everything the movies showed you. This is not some cozy fireplace with a friendly barkeep. This is a pit, a sweating, stinking, suffocating hole where the floor squishes under your feet. The smoke claws at your lungs. And every single person in here is calculating whether you are worth robbing. The year is 1347. The city is Bristol on England's western coast, where the river meets the sea and fortunes rise and fall with the tide. The plague has not yet reached these shores, but other diseases flourish in the dampened dark. Poverty is a disease here, desperation is a disease, and the tavern is where these sicknesses come to feed. You push that door open and the first thing that hits you is not the sound, it is the smell. It crashes into your face like a wall, hot, wet, heavy, sweat and smoke and sour ale and something rotting underneath it all. It fills your lungs so thick you can almost chew it. Your eyes start burning. Your chest gets tight. For 1 second, you think about spinning around and walking right back into the freezing, garbage-filled street. But you have been walking since sunrise. Your legs are screaming. You are starving, drenched and exhausted. Your name is Thomas. You are 35 years old. You were a merchant's clerk in London until 3 weeks ago when your employer went bankrupt and threw you into the street with nothing but the clothes on your back and 3 silver pennies that represent everything you own in this world. You came to Bristol hoping to find work, hoping to find anything that might keep you alive through the coming winter. So you step inside. The ceiling practically sits on your head. You could reach up and scrape your knuckles on those blackened beams. Decades of smoke have turned them the color of old bones. Hanging from them, you see dried meat bundles of herbs, ropes of onions, and shapes you pray you never see clearly. Every surface is slick with something. Every shadow hides something worse. You hear boots stomping benches, scraping someone cackling, too loud and too long. A man hacking up his lungs like he is dying where he sits. A dog snarls somewhere in the dark. Someone gags in a corner. The floor is not a floor. It is just packed earth covered with old rushes. Dead grass thrown down to soak up whatever spills. The owners are supposed to swap them out regularly. They never do. Those rushes sit there for weeks, months. Ale and wine and sweat and vomit and grease sink into them and rot. Dead vermin, bones from last week's meals, scraps of bread gone hard as stone, broken teeth someone spit out after a fight. Your boot sinks into a soft spot, then it crunches through something dry. You do not look down. Some things are better left unknown. Light is survival in here. The main fire burns in a pit in the center, throwing orange and red across every face and cutting deep shadows that twist when people move. A man smiling in that light looks like he is baring his teeth. An old woman squinting suddenly looks like something out of a nightmare. That fire is everything. It heats the stew. It dries wet cloaks. It keeps you from freezing to death when winter bites. It is also a killer waiting to happen. One spark hits dry thatch and the whole place becomes a grave. Candles flicker on tables. Oil lamps gutter on shelves. Their light barely pushes back the dark. Tallow candles made from animal fat put out greasy smoke that mixes with everything else, choking the air. There is no proper chimney. The smoke climbs up, hits the ceiling, and spreads out like fog. Eventually, it leaks through cracks in the roof or a hole cut in the thatch. Until then, everyone breathes it. Your throat burns, your eyes water. But you are here now. And leaving means admitting you have nowhere else to go. You stand there blinking, waiting for shapes to separate from the gloom. Slowly faces emerge. At one table, merchants lean in close and talk fast. Their clothes are better than everyone else here. Dyed fabrics, fur at the collar, purses fat enough to draw attention. One hand grips their cup. The other never leaves their money. Near the fire, soldiers in worn cloaks sit hunched over their drinks. Mud from the road still crusts their boots. Their leader has a scar across his face so fresh it is still pink. His name is Geoffrey. You do not know this yet, but you will. Their blades rest against the bench within easy reach. They laugh when something strikes them funny, but go silent the instant anyone gets too close. They look relaxed. They are not. They are cataloging every threat, every opportunity, every weakness in the room. Against the wall, pilgrims clustered together. Badges from holy places dangle from their cloaks. Shells from distant shrines tin tokens stamped with saints. Some mutter prayers and clutch their rosaries tight. Others drink hard and make eyes at the serving girls. Not everyone wearing those badges earned them honestly. And then there are the ones who look like they grew out of the furniture. Locals with faces carved by time teeth, missing eyes that have watched famine and plague and war pass through like weather. When they laugh, there is no warmth in it. They live next door to death, and they stopped being surprised a long time ago. Holding all of this together by sheer will is the tavern keeper. His name is Aldrich. He is a big man, arms thick from hauling barrels and throwing out anyone who crosses him. His apron tells the story of 100 spilled meals. His shirt hangs open. Sweat shines on his skin from standing near that fire since noon. He knows every face. He remembers who paid, who owes who, makes trouble but spends enough to be worth it, who starts fights without ever buying a drink. His word inside these walls carries more weight than any bailiff. He decides who gets served and who gets turned away, who gets dragged outside and dumped in the mud. If it suits him, he decides what crimes get reported to the law and what simply disappears beneath a fresh layer of rushes. Behind him, moving through the kitchen with brutal efficiency, is his wife, Margaret. She is perhaps 40, though life has made her look older. She cooks, she counts the money, she watches the door, she swats away drunk hands that reach where they should not. A wooden spoon in her grip can crack ribs hard enough to make a point. She listens more than she talks. She knows who is cheating, who plans to skip town, who got paid today, and who is one bad night from doing something desperate. She is the one you should actually fear. You make your way toward the bar, trying not to trip over legs stretched out to block your path. Men size you up as you pass. Clean clothes mean you have not been on the road long. Smooth hands mean you have never done hard labor. Your nervous eyes mean you are prey. Aldrich notices you approaching. First time here. His voice is rough like gravel scraped over stone. First time in Bristol, you say. Your voice sounds thin in this thick air. Looking for work or trouble? Work, just work. He grunts, not convinced but willing to take your money. Ale is a penny, stew is a penny, bed upstairs is 2 pence, but you share it with whoever else pays. Keep your boots on and your money close, or you will wake up with neither. You nod and place a penny on the bar. He sweeps it into his apron and fills a wooden cup from a barrel behind him. The ale is warm and cloudy, flecked with things you choose not to identify. But it is wet, and it will not kill you. Probably. You drink. The taste is sour and heavy, closer to food than drink. Your throat adjusts after the second swallow. Around you, conversation rises and falls like tidewater. Deals are made. Threats are issued. Lies are traded like currency. You listen because listening is free and might keep you alive. At a table near the fire, you notice a young man who looks out of place. He is perhaps 22, wearing clothes too fine for this room. A merchant's son, you guess. His name is Walter, though you do not know this yet either. He has soft hands and nervous eyes and a purse that bulges at his belt. He sits across from a man who looks like he was born at a gambling table. This man is older, perhaps 40, with graying hair tied back and clothes that are clean but worn from travel. His hands move constantly, rolling a pair of dice between his fingers with practiced ease. His name is Edmund. He smiles at Walter like a wolf watching a lamb wander away from the flock. Just a friendly game, Edmund says. His voice is smooth, educated. Nothing serious, just to pass the time. Walter hesitates. You can see the war on his face. Fear fighting against the desire to prove himself. To show he belongs in places like this. To be a man among men instead of a boy playing at commerce. Edmund places the dice on the table with a casual motion that is not casual at all. Or perhaps you are not interested in a little excitement. The challenge works. Walter straightens in his seat. One game, small stakes. Edmund's smile widens. Of course, small stakes. You watch this unfold and something cold moves through your chest. You have seen this before. 5 years ago in London. Your brother sat at a table just like this one, faced a man just like Edmund, made the same choice Walter is making right now. By morning, your brother had lost everything. His money, his prospects, his hope. 2 days later, he hanged himself in his rented room. The landlord found him swinging from a beam. You should say something. You should warn Walter, but you are a stranger here. You have no authority, no friends, no protection. Speaking up means making an enemy of Edmund, and men like Edmund have long memories and sharp knives. So you stay silent. You drink your ale and hate yourself for it. The game begins. Dice clatter against wood. Coins change hands. At first, Walter wins. Small amounts, but enough to make him smile. Enough to make him think he has a gift for this. Edmund loses gracefully, laughing, buying another round of drinks. The alcohol flows. Walter's judgment clouds. The stakes climb. Across the room, you notice a woman moving between tables with a wooden tray balanced on her hip. She is perhaps 28, thin in a way that speaks of hunger rather than choice. Her dress is patched and faded. Bruises show on her wrists where someone grabbed too hard. Her name is Sarah. She works here. Serving drinks is only part of what Aldrich requires from her. She catches you watching and her expression hardens. Not anger, wariness. In a place like this, attention from men rarely ends well for women. You look away quickly, ashamed. She moves past and you smell sweat and cheap soap and something underneath that might be fear. Margaret calls out from the kitchen, "Sarah, the stew is burning." Sarah hurries toward the back, weaving through the crowd with practiced efficiency. You notice she never comes within arm's reach of the soldiers. Never makes eye contact with the drunk pilgrims. Every step is calculated for survival. An hour passes, then two. The tavern fills as night deepens outside. More workers stumble in from the docks. More travelers seeking shelter. The air grows thicker, hotter, harder to breathe. Your head begins to ache from the smoke. But you stay because leaving means going out into the cold, and you cannot afford a room anywhere else. At Walter's table, this game has changed. His pile of coins is gone. His smile is gone. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the heat. He reaches for his purse with shaking hands. "Perhaps we should stop," Edmund suggests. But his tone is not kind. It is the voice of a cat playing with something that has already stopped moving. "One more game," Walter says. His voice cracks. "I can win it back. Just one more." Edmund shrugs as if it makes no difference to him. "If you insist." The dice roll. Walter loses. He stares at the table like he cannot believe what just happened. Edmund sweeps the coins toward himself with movements so smooth they barely disturb the air. "Your luck will turn," Edmund says. "These things balance out eventually." Walter looks at him with desperate eyes. "I have more. At my lodgings. I can bring it." "No need to leave. I trust you. Play on credit." And there it is. The trap closes. Once debt enters the equation, there is no way out. Walter will chase his losses until he has nothing left. Edmund knows this. You know this. Everyone in this room knows this except Walter. You stand up. Your legs feel unsteady, whether from the ale or the weight of what you are about to do. You cross to their table. Both men look up. "Excuse me," you say to Walter. "Might I speak with you for a moment?" Edmund's eyes narrow. "We are in the middle of a game, friend. It will only take a moment." Walter frowns, confused and annoyed. "What do you want?" You lean in close enough that Edmund cannot hear. "Those dice are not fair. This man is cheating you. Leave now while you still can." For a heartbeat, you think he might listen. His eyes search your face, looking for some reason to trust you. But then Edmund speaks. "Is there a problem?" Walter pulls back. His expression shifts from confusion to anger. "This man says you are cheating." The tavern does not go silent. These places are never silent. But the conversations near your table drop to murmurs. People turn to watch. Violence is always interesting. Edmund stands slowly. He is not a large man, but there is something in the way he moves that speaks of experience with situations like this. That is a serious accusation. Your mouth goes dry. "I only meant to suggest." "You suggested I am a cheat and a thief." His hand rests on his belt near where a knife would hang. "Do you have proof of this claim?" You do not. You saw him palming the dice, switching them when Walter looked away. But proving it now in front of these people with Edmund staring at you like you are something to be stepped on, you cannot find the words. "I thought not," Edmund says. He turns to Walter. "Some men cannot stand to watch others enjoy themselves. Pay him no mind." Walter's face hardens. The ale has made him brave and stupid. "You are just jealous. You probably wanted to play yourself, and I took your spot. I'm trying to help you, you say, but even you can hear how weak it sounds. I do not need help from strangers who insult my friends. Walter waves you away like you are a beggar asking for coins. Leave us alone. Edmund smiles at you. It is not a friendly smile. You heard the man. You step back. Every eye in the vicinity is on you now. Your face burns with shame and anger, and the bitter knowledge that you tried and failed. You return to your spot at the bar and order another ale you cannot afford. Aldrich pours it without comment. He has seen this play out 1,000 times before. The night grinds on. The game continues. Walter's losses mount. First his remaining coins, then his cloak, then his horse stabled somewhere outside, then the money he was carrying for his father's business, wool merchants from London you overhear, 20 gold nobles that were supposed to pay for raw fleece from Bristol suppliers. Gone. All of it gone. By the time the church bells ring midnight, Walter sits at the table staring at nothing. His face is pale as milk. Edmund counts coins with the satisfied expression of a man completing a good day's work. I am destroyed, Walter says. The words come out flat, empty of everything except truth. My father will disown me. The business is ruined. I am ruined. Edmund stands and stretches. You should be more careful with money that does not belong to you. He walks away without looking back. Walter does not move. He sits there like a man already dead, which in many ways he is. His future ended the moment he sat down at that table. He just has not accepted it yet. You want to go to him, to say something that might ease the horror of what just happened. But what words exist for this? You tried to warn him. He chose not to listen. Now he will pay the price for that choice with everything he has and everything he might have become. Instead, you watch as the tavern slowly empties. Some men drag themselves upstairs to the shared beds. Others stumble out into the street. A few collapse where they sit and are left to sleep it off in whatever position they landed. Sarah moves through the wreckage, collecting cups and wiping tables. She reaches Walter and stops. Something in his posture must speak to her because she sets down her tray and sits beside him. Are you all right? Her voice is soft, careful. Walter looks at her with eyes that have seen too much too fast. No, I am not all right. I will never be all right again. She nods like she understands. Perhaps she does. You should leave. This is not a safe place to linger. Where would I go? I have nothing. No horse, no money, no future. Then you will have to build a new one. She says it like it is simple, like starting over with nothing is something that can be done. Walter laughs, but there is no humor in it. You do not understand. I understand better than you think. She stands and returns to her work. You finish your ale and approach Aldrich. The bed upstairs, is it still available? He nods. 2 pence. You count out your remaining coins. 2 pennies for the bed. That leaves you with 1. 1 penny between you and complete destitution. You hand over the money and Aldrich jerks his thumb toward a narrow staircase in the corner. Up there, try not to get robbed. You climb the stairs. They creak under your weight, announcing your presence to whoever is already up there. The upper room is low and dark, lit by a single guttering candle. A massive bed dominates the space, more like a sleeping platform than anything else. 5 men already occupy it, sprawled across the straw mattress in various states of consciousness. You find a space at the edge and lie down fully clothed with your boots on and your last penny pressed against your skin beneath your shirt. The mattress smells like every person who has ever slept on it, and most of them did not smell good to begin with. Something moves in the straw. You close your eyes and try not to think about it. Sleep does not come easily. The men around you snore and cough and mutter in their dreams. One thrashes like he is fighting invisible enemies. The fleas find you quickly and begin their work. You scratch and shift and count the hours until dawn. Somewhere in the darkness, you hear crying. Quiet, muffled tones that someone is trying very hard to keep hidden. You do not know if it is Walter or someone else entirely. In a place like this, there are always reasons to cry. Morning comes slowly, announced by gray light creeping through cracks in the walls. You rise stiff and aching and covered in bites. The other men begin to stir, groaning and cursing the new day. You make your way downstairs. The main room looks worse in daylight. The floor is strewn with debris from the night before. Broken pottery, Spilled drinks soaking into those cursed rushes. A man sleeps face down in the corner. You cannot tell if he is breathing. Margaret is already working, sweeping the mess into piles with sharp, efficient movements. Sarah helps her, moving more slowly. Her face is bruised. Fresh marks that were not there last night. You do not ask what happened. You already know. Aldrich emerges from the back, carrying a bucket of something that might be water. He sees you and grunts acknowledgement. Looking for work, you said. You nod. Can you read and write? Yes, I was a clerk. He considers this. I need someone to keep accounts, track what is owed, what is paid. Margaret does it now, but she has enough work. Pay is a bed and 2 meals a day plus 3 pence a week. Interested? It is not much, but it is more than nothing. And nothing is all you have right now, and I am interested. Good, you start today. Margaret will show you the books. And just like that, you are no longer a stranger passing through. You are part of this place, part of its machinery. You tell yourself it is temporary just until you find something better. But men have been telling themselves that same lie in places like this for centuries. Margaret leads you to a small table in the back where a battered ledger sits beside an ink pot and quill. The pages are filled with names and numbers in her cramped handwriting. Debts and payments and transactions that blur together into a portrait of desperate commerce. Every drink, every meal, every bed, she says, it all goes in the book. At the end of each week, we tally who owes what. Most pay, some do not. Those who do not get cut off until they settle. You nod and begin reviewing the entries. The numbers tell stories. A dock worker who drinks exactly 3 ales every night and always pays. A widow who buys stew twice a week and owes 4 pence she will probably never clear. And there near the bottom of the current page, Sarah's name with a debt of 3 shillings beside it. 3 shillings. That is an enormous sum for someone earning pennies. Margaret's expression does not change. She rents a room from us, eats here. Sometimes she borrows against future earnings. It adds up. How long has she owed this? 4 months, maybe 5? How does she pay it off? Margaret looks at you like you are being deliberately stupid. She works, same as everyone else. But you understand now. Sarah serves drinks and cooks and does whatever else Aldrich requires. She earns pennies while owing shillings. The math does not work. It is not supposed to work. The debt is a chain, a way to keep her here working, trapped in a cycle she can never escape. You want to say something, to object. But you are here now, part of the system. And if you make trouble, you will be back on the street with nothing. So you dip the quill in ink and begin making entries, recording the slow bleed of coin and hope and life that keeps this tavern running. The day passes. You learn the rhythm of the place. The morning drinkers who come in for ale and bread before heading to work. The midday crowd of merchants and craftsmen conducting business over drinks. The evening rush when the laborers arrive thirsty and exhausted and looking for anything to make the day feel less heavy. Edmund returns that afternoon. He orders wine, expensive wine, and sits at his usual table. Within an hour, a new victim appears. A merchant from York, recently widowed, traveling with settlement money from his late wife's estate. His name is Henry, and he looks tired and skinny and vulnerable. Edmund offers sympathy. He buys Henry a drink. They talk about loss and grief and the unfairness of life. And then, as naturally as breathing, Edmund suggests a game. Just to pass the time. Just to take their minds off darker thoughts. You watch it begin again, and the anger rises in your throat like bile. You failed to save Walter. Will you fail to save this man too? Can you even call it failure when the victim chooses not to be saved? Night falls, the tavern fills, and the games continue. They always do. This is what these places are built for. Not comfort, not community, but the slow extraction of everything a person has, 1 coin at a time, until nothing remains except the choice between dying fast or dying slow. You sit at your table with the ledger open, recording transactions, watching the machinery grind on. Sarah passes with her tray. She does not look at you. You are just another part of the system now. Another person who sees what happens here and does nothing to stop it. Walter never came back. You heard later from one of the regulars that he was found in the river 3 days after his losses. Drowned. Whether he jumped or was pushed or simply fell in his drunken despair, no one knows. Same fate as countless others who found the weight of their failures too heavy to carry. The night deepens, the fire burns low, and you understand now finally what it means to be inside a place like this. You are not just observing the darkness, you are becoming part of it. Every transaction you record, every debt you tally, every silence you maintain, you are building the walls of the prison that holds people like Sarah, people like Walter, people like yourself. Aldrich approaches your table. You did good work today. Keep it up, and you will do well here. You nod. You have nothing to say to him. He leans in closer. His breath smells like wine and meat gone slightly bad. A word of advice. You seem like a man with a conscience. That is a dangerous thing in a place like this. Conscience makes you weak. It makes you question, and questions get you hurt. I understand. Do you? He straightens. Men like Edmund, they serve a purpose. They take money from fools who would lose it anyway. Better it goes to someone skilled than just disappears into bad decisions. You follow, I follow. Good. He walks away. You sit there as the tavern empties around you. Sarah blows out candles. Margaret counts coins. Somewhere upstairs, men are already fighting over space in the communal bed. And you think about your brother, about Walter, about every person who walked through that door thinking they would just have a drink and leave unchanged. Nobody leaves unchanged. The tavern takes something from everyone. Sometimes it is money, sometimes dignity, sometimes life itself, but it always takes something. You close the ledger and climb the stairs to your corner of the shared bed. Tomorrow you will wake up and do it all again. Record the transactions. Watch the games. Keep your mouth shut. This is survival now. This is what you have become. The price of a roof and 2 meals a day is your complicity in the machinery of suffering. And as you lie there in the dark listening to strangers breathe and curse and dream, you wonder when exactly you stopped being Thomas the clerk who tried to help people and became Thomas the tavern keeper's man who looks the other way. The answer comes quickly. Tonight. It happened tonight. 3 months pass like water through your fingers. The seasons shift. Autumn's chill hardens into winter's bite. Ice forms in the water barrels each morning and has to be broken with an iron rod. The streets outside turn to frozen mud that cuts through worn boot leather. People crowd into the tavern now, not just for drink, but for the simple animal warmth of bodies pressed together around the fire. The cold is a new kind of enemy. It creeps through cracks in the walls and steals breath from sleeping men. You have changed in these months. Your hands are no longer soft. Your eyes are no longer shocked by what happens in this room. You have learned to watch everything and react to nothing. You have learned which drunks are harmless and which are dangerous. You have learned that Margaret runs this place more than Aldrich ever did, and that her ruthlessness is born from decades of survival in a world that gives women few choices and fewer mercies. The ledger has become your world. Every transaction flows through your hands, every debt, every payment, every failure to pay. You see the patterns now. The dock worker who drinks exactly 3 ales every night is named John, and he has a wife and 4 children. The widow who buys stew twice a week is named Agnes, and she is 72 and going blind. She will be dead by spring. And Sarah, you have learned about Sarah. Her debt has grown to 7 shillings now. 4 months ago, it was 3. The increase was not from borrowing more. It was from fines. Breakage fees when a cup shattered. Protection fees because Aldrich claims her presence costs him business with respectable customers. Rent increases because winter fuel is expensive. The charges pile up like snow in a storm, and she will never, ever climb out from under them. She has a son. His name is Robert, and he is 6 years old. He lives with Agnes, that same widow who buys stew twice a week. Sarah sees him on Sunday mornings for 1 hour before she must return to work. You have watched her leave for those visits. Her face changes when she crosses the threshold. The hardness falls away, and for 60 brief minutes she is just a mother going to see her child. Then she comes back and the walls go up again. You have not spoken to her beyond the necessary exchanges of work. She does not trust you. Why would she? You are part of the machinery that keeps her enslaved. Your careful records document her imprisonment with every stroke of the quill. Edmund still comes regularly. He destroyed Henry over 2 weeks in November. 40 gold nobles gone, the man's horse, business contracts, finally his dead wife's jewelry. Henry wept when he lost that. The ring and necklace were all he had left of her. Edmund took them without expression, and Henry walked out into the November rain and never came back. You heard later that he became a beggar on the church steps. He died in January when the cold came hard, froze to death in the night while sleeping in a doorway. No one seemed to notice. Men like Henry disappear all the time. But something else has happened in these 3 months. You have discovered a larger truth hidden in the ledger's pages. It started with the wine. Aldrich serves wine to the merchants and visiting nobility. Good wine, he claims. French wine from established vineyards. He charges accordingly, 4 pence a cup when ale is only one. The profit margin should be thin. Wine is expensive to import. Taxes are heavy. By your calculations, Aldrich should barely break even on the wine trade. But the numbers do not match. He is making far too much profit. One night when the tavern is closed and you are alone with the books, you dig deeper. You find records of wine purchases from a supplier in Southampton. But the quantities are wrong. Aldrich buys 20 barrels but records selling 30. The extra 10 barrels should not exist, unless he is watering down the wine, blending cheap local wine with expensive imports and selling the mixture at premium prices. It is fraud. Common fraud, yes, but fraud nonetheless. If the city A. O'Connor discovered it during an inspection, Aldrich would face the pillory. His wine poured over his head while the crowd jeers. His business destroyed. You should not care. This is not your fight. But you keep digging because there is nothing else to do in the cold hours before dawn, and the truth is a puzzle that demands solving. You find the second ledger hidden beneath a loose floorboard in Aldrich's private room. You should not be in there. You should not be reading this. But you are, and you do. This ledger tells a different story. It shows payments to Brother William the Fat Friar who drinks here 3 nights a week. 10 shillings a month for church seals. Fake seals that Brother William provides to authenticate wine quality. Official-looking documents that claim the wine has been blessed and inspected by church authority. It shows payments to Richard the Guildmaster, who oversees all tavern keepers in Bristol. 30% of the wine fraud profits in exchange for advance warning of inspections. It shows payments to Martin, a clerk in the city records office. 5 shillings a month to falsify inspection documents. The web is larger than you imagine. This is not one man cheating his customers. This is a network, a system of corruption that flows from Aldrich up through the guild, through the church, through city government itself. You sit there in the dark holding this knowledge and understanding finally what Margaret meant 3 months ago when she said some questions get you hurt. This question could get you killed. You return the secret ledger to its hiding place. You go back to your regular work as if you saw nothing. But the knowledge sits in your stomach like spoiled meat. 2 weeks later, word spreads that Robert the Taster is coming to Bristol. Robert is the King's Ale Conner for the Western Counties. His reputation is iron. He cannot be bribed, cannot be threatened. He travels from town to town, testing the quality of ale and wine, enforcing standards, destroying anyone who cheats the common people. He has ruined 8 taverns in 2 years. Owners pilloried, businesses shuttered. In one case, a tavern keeper was hanged for selling ale, so watered down it made children sick. When Aldrich hears Robert is coming, his face goes white as fresh snow. That night, after closing, he gathers everyone. You, Margaret, Sarah, the 2 other serving girls. His voice is tight with barely controlled fear. Robert the Taster arrives in 5 days. This inspection will determine whether we survive or die. Everyone will work to prepare. The tavern will be perfect. The food will be fresh. The drinks will be exactly what we claim they are. No mistakes, no exceptions. Am I clear? Everyone nods. Good. Get to work. For the next 4 days, the tavern transforms. Margaret scrubs the floors until the rushes are completely replaced with fresh ones. The walls are washed. The barrels are cleaned. Every cup and bowl is inspected for cracks. The false wine barrels are hidden behind a wall in the cellar covered with legitimate stock. You watch all this and say nothing. You are very good at saying nothing now. Edmund appears on the 3rd day of preparation. He has a new victim lined up, a young merchant from Bath carrying his family's wool trading money. But Aldrich sends him away. No games while the inspector is here. Come back in a week. Edmund's eyes narrow. I have business to conduct. Conducted elsewhere. I cannot have trouble under my roof right now. For a moment, you think Edmund will argue, but he looks at Aldrich's way and sees something there that makes him reconsider. He leaves without another word. The night before Robert's arrival, you cannot sleep. You lie in the shared bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about the false ledger hidden beneath Aldrich's floorboards. One word to the inspector, and this entire network collapses. Aldrich destroyed. Brother William exposed. Guildmaster Richard ruined. And Sarah, what happens to Sarah? If Aldrich falls, the tavern closes. Sarah loses her position. Her debt becomes uncollectible. She would be free. But she would also be unemployed in winter with a 6-year-old child to feed. Freedom is worthless when you are starving. You turn these thoughts over and over until dawn comes and brings Robert the Taster with it. He arrives at mid-morning, a man of perhaps 55, stern-faced and iron-eyed. He wears official robes bearing the king's insignia. 2 assistants accompany him, both carrying wooden tablets for recording violations. Aldrich greets him with forced warmth. "Welcome, Inspector. We are honored by your visit." Robert does not smile. "This is not a social call. I am here to ensure you are operating within the law. If you are, you have nothing to fear. If you are not, you will face consequences. Am I understood?" "Perfectly understood, sir." The inspection begins. Robert tests the ale strength by dipping a wooden paddle into the barrel and observing how the liquid clings to the surface. He smells it, tastes it. His face shows nothing, but his assistants make notes. "Acceptable," he says finally. Aldrich relaxes slightly. Then Robert moves to the wine. He demands to see the cellar. Aldrich's face goes tight again, but he leads the way down the narrow stairs into the cold darkness below. You follow because you keep the records, and Robert will want to cross-reference the barrels with your ledger. Margaret comes too. Sarah stays upstairs serving the few customers who have ventured in despite the inspection. The cellar is low and damp. Barrels line the walls, each marked with origin and date. Robert examines them carefully. He taps one with his knuckles, listening to the hollow sound that indicates volume. He checks the seal, the wood, the plugs. "Open this one," he commands, pointing to a barrel marked as French wine from Bordeaux. Aldrich hesitates for just a moment. Then he nods to Margaret, who produces an iron bar and pries the plug free. Wine, dark as blood, pools in the cup Robert holds beneath the flow. He smells it, swirls it, holds it up to the light from the single torch flickering on the wall. Then he drinks. His face changes. Not much, just a tightening around the eyes. "This is not Bordeaux wine." Aldrich's voice stays level. "Of course it is, Inspector. I have documentation." "Show me." You step forward with the ledger. Your hands are steady. Inside, your heart hammers against your ribs. This is the moment. Show him the real ledger and Aldrich falls. Show him the false one and the fraud continues. You open the book to the wine entries, the false entries, the ones that show legitimate purchases and honest transactions. Robert scans the pages. His assistants look over his shoulder. The numbers match the barrels, the dates align, everything appears correct. But Robert is not convinced. "I want to test another barrel, that one." He points to a different cask, also marked as French. "This one is real." You know it is because you helped Margaret move it to the front of the cellar specifically for this purpose. The fraudulent barrels are hidden behind the false wall at the back. Robert tastes this wine. His expression softens slightly. "Better. This one is legitimate." The inspection continues for another hour. Robert tests food supplies, checks the cleanliness of the kitchen, questions Margaret about the sources of their meat and grain. Everything passes, barely, but it passes. Finally, Robert closes his inspection tablet. "You are operating within acceptable standards. For now, I will return in 6 months. If quality has slipped, there will be consequences." "Of course, Inspector. We maintain the highest standards at all times." Robert looks at him with eyes that have seen every kind of liar. "I am sure you do." He turns and climbs the stairs. His assistants follow. When they are gone, Aldrich slumps against a barrel. His hands shake. Margaret touches his shoulder briefly, then withdraws. "We passed," she says, "by a finger's width." Aldrich looks at you. "The ledger. You showed him the prepared one." "Yes." Good, you did well. You nod and say nothing. Inside, you feel like you are rotting from within. That night, Edmund returns. With him comes a new victim, a merchant from York who looks tired and sad. His name is Henry, and his wife recently died. He carries the settlement money from her estate, 40 gold nobles that represent everything he has left in the world. Edmund buys him a drink, offers sympathy, talks about loss and grief, and then suggests a game to take his mind off darker thoughts. You watch it happen again. The same pattern, the same lies, the same inevitable destruction. And this time you decide you will not stay silent. You approach their table. Both men look up. Edmund's eyes narrow in recognition. He remembers you from 3 months ago when you tried to warn Walter. Can I help you? Edmund's voice is cold. You ignore him and speak directly to Henry. Sir, I must warn you, this man cheats at dice. If you play with him, you will lose everything. Henry blinks in surprise. Edmund's face hardens. That is a serious accusation, Edmund says quietly. It is a true one. Ask anyone here. Ask how many men have sat at this table with full purses and left with nothing. Henry looks between you and Edmund, confused. Is this true? Edmund stands. His hand moves to his belt where a knife hangs in a worn leather sheath. This man is a liar and a troublemaker. He tried this same trick 3 months ago. No one believed him then, and you should not believe him now. I am trying to save you from what happened to Walter, and to at least a dozen other men I have watched this vulture destroy since I started working here. The tavern has gone quiet, not silent, but the conversations have dropped to murmurs. People turn to watch. Aldrich emerges from the back, his face dark as a thunderstorm. Thomas, he says. His voice carries warning. You ignore him too. The dice are weighted. Watch his hands. He switches them when you are not looking. Edmund's smile is dangerous now. Prove it. Show everyone your dice, the ones in your right pocket, not the fair ones you use when someone is watching, the weighted ones you switch to when the stakes are high enough. Edmund's hand is on his knife now. You are calling me a cheat and a thief in front of witnesses. That is a killing offense. Then kill me, but first let everyone see your dice. For a long moment, nobody moves. The fire crackles. Someone coughs. Then Geoffrey, the scarred soldier who has been drinking quietly in the corner, stands up. He is a big man, Geoffrey. Bigger than Edmund. Bigger than Aldrich. And he has the look of someone who has killed before and will kill again if circumstances require it. Show us the dice, Geoffrey says. His voice is flat, empty of emotion. Edmund looks at him. This is not your concern. I am making it my concern. 3 months ago, I watched a boy lose everything at this table. Before that, I watched others. My brother killed himself over gambling debts in a tavern, just like this one. So I am making it my concern. Show us the dice, or I will take them from you. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. Edmund's eyes dart around the room looking for support. He finds none. Even Aldrich stays silent. A fight between Geoffrey and Edmund would tear the tavern apart, and Aldrich cannot afford more trouble so soon after the inspection. Edmund reaches slowly into his right pocket. He pulls out 2 dice. They look normal. Carved bones, 6 sides dots, painted black. There, satisfied. Geoffrey walks over and takes them from Edmund's hand. He rolls them across the table. Once, twice, 3 times. Snake eyes, double ones, again and again. The pattern is impossible. Dice do not fall that way unless they are weighted. Geoffrey picks them up and examines them closely. Then he sets them down and looks at Edmund. Weighted, lead in the base of the one side, makes them land heavy. Edmund's hand tightens on his knife. Those are not my dice. He planted them. This is a setup. Is it? Geoffrey's voice is still flat, still empty. Then you will not mind if I search your person for the real dice. Touch me and I will gut you. Geoffrey smiles. It is not a pleasant expression. You can try me. What happens next happens very fast. Edmund draws his knife and lunges. Geoffrey sidesteps with the practiced ease of a man who has done this 100 times before. His hand closes on Edmund's wrist and twists. Bone cracks. The knife falls. Edmund screams. Geoffrey does not let go. He forces Edmund to his knees and holds him there while Edmund's face goes white with pain. Aldrich, Jeffrey says, fetch the bailiff. This man is a cheat and a thief, and he has been operating under your roof for months. Either you deal with him, or I will assume you are part of it. Aldrich's face is a mask. You can see the calculations running behind his eyes. Turn Edmund in and lose a source of profit. Protect Edmund and face Jeffrey's wrath, plus the possibility of the bailiff investigating the tavern more closely. He chooses survival. Margaret, get the bailiff. Margaret leaves without a word. Jeffrey holds Edmund for another 10 minutes until 2 city guards arrive. They bind Edmund's hands and drag him away, still cursing, still insisting he was framed. No one believes him. The weighted dice are evidence enough. When they are gone, the tavern slowly returns to normal. People go back to their drinks and their conversations. The fire is fed. The night continues. But Aldrich approaches you with a face like winter. You nearly destroyed everything tonight, he says quietly. I stopped a cheat from operating under your roof. I protected your reputation. You drew attention. You made a scene. You forced me to involve the law. Do you understand what could have happened if the bailiff decided to look more closely at our business? You understand perfectly. The wine fraud would have been discovered, the false ledgers, the network of bribes and corruption. I could not watch it happen again, you say, when after Walter, not after Henry, almost fell into the same trap. Aldrich leans close. His breath is wine and rage. Your conscience is going to get you killed. Or worse, it is going to get all of us killed. Do you think I enjoy what happens here? Do you think I like watching men destroy themselves? This is business. This is survival. And you just made survival harder for everyone under this roof. He walks away. You look for Sarah, but she has disappeared into the kitchen. Margaret watches you from across the room with an expression you cannot read. Jeffrey approaches. That took courage. Or stupidity. He shrugs. Sometimes they are the same thing. You did right. That is what matters. Did I, Edmund, will be punished, but the system that allowed him to operate is still here. Nothing has actually changed. Jeffrey considers this. Change does not happen all at once. It happens in small moments. Tonight was a small moment. He returns to his table and his drink. You stand there feeling the weight of what just happened, settling over you like a shroud. That night you cannot sleep. You lie in the shared bed listening to snores and thinking about systems and small moments and whether anything you do actually matters. Around midnight, you hear footsteps on the stairs. Quiet footsteps trying not to wake anyone. You open your eyes and see Sarah moving through the darkness, carrying a small bundle. She reaches the door and pauses, looks back, sees you watching. For a moment, neither of you moves. Then she puts a finger to her lips and disappears into the night. You lie there for perhaps 10 seconds before understanding hits you. She is running. You get up and move to the window. In the faint moonlight, you see her hurrying down the street toward the city gate. The bundle in her arms must be everything she owns. A change of clothes, maybe some food stolen from the kitchen. She is leaving alone. Robert stays with Agnes for now, too risky to take a 6-year-old child through winter streets in the middle of the night. Better to establish herself somewhere safe first, then send for him later. Your first thought is relief. She is escaping, getting free of this place. Your second thought is dread, because Aldrich will not let a 7-shilling debt simply walk away. He will send people after her, and when they find her, the punishment will be severe. Public beating to serve as a warning to anyone else who thinks about running. You should go back to bed. This is not your problem. You tried to help tonight, and Aldrich made clear that helping has consequences. But you cannot. Not anymore. You dress quickly and go downstairs. The tavern is dark and empty. You slip out the back door and run toward the city gate. You find her half a mile from the tavern, moving fast through the narrow streets. She hears you coming and spins around, eyes wide with fear. It is me, you say, hands raised. Just me. What are you doing here? Warning you, Aldrich will discover you are gone by morning. He will send people to find you. Where are you going? Away, anywhere. It does not matter. It does matter. If you do not have a destination, they will catch you within a day. She stares at you. Why do you care? Because I am tired of watching people get destroyed by this place. You work for Aldrich. You kept the books that documented my slavery. I know, and I am trying to be something different. Please, let me help. She hesitates, then shakes her head. You cannot help. No one can. The debt follows me wherever I go. Aldrich has connections throughout Bristol. If I stay in the city, he will find me. Then leave the city. With what I have, no money, no horse, nowhere to go. You reach into your shirt and pull out the small purse where you keep your wages. 3 months of work, 9 pence. Not much, but more than nothing. Take this, get to the docks, find a ship leaving for anywhere. Work your passage if you have to. Just get far enough away that Aldrich's reach cannot find you. When you are settled, send word to Agnes. She will make sure Robert reaches you safely. She looks at the coins like they might bite her. Why would you do this? Because someone has to start breaking the system instead of feeding it. For a long moment, she does not move. Then she takes the purse. Thank you, she whispers. I will send for Robert as soon as I can. She turns and runs toward the docks. You watch her go until she disappears into the darkness. Then you walk back to the tavern alone. Morning comes, Aldrich discovers Sarah is gone. His rage shakes the building. He questions everyone. Where did she go? Did anyone see her leave? Who helped her? You lie with a straight face. You have become very good at lying. Margaret watches you during the interrogation. Her eyes miss nothing, but she says nothing. That afternoon, Aldrich sends 2 of his men to search the city. They return empty-handed. Sarah is gone, and she did not leave a trail. Aldrich sits at the bar that night counting his losses. 7 shillings of uncollectible debt, the cost of training a new serving girl, the disruption to business. He looks at you. This is your fault. If you had not caused that scene with Edmund, she would not have felt brave enough to run. Maybe he is right. Maybe your small moment of courage gave Sarah the idea that change was possible. You hope so. That night, Jeffrey is arrested. The city guards come for him while he is drinking. The charge is assault with a weapon. Breaking Edmund's wrist constitutes assault in the eyes of the law. Never mind that Edmund was a cheat and a fraud. Jeffrey used violence, and violence must be punished. They drag him away in chains. He does not resist. He looks at you as they lead him out and nods once, as if to say it was worth it. You are not sure you agree. The days that follow are tense. Aldrich barely speaks to you. Margaret is cold and distant. The tavern feels like a trap waiting to spring. You work, you keep the ledgers, you record transactions. But now you are watching everything with new eyes. You are looking for something. A weapon. A way to fight back against the system that has trapped so many people. And one night while everyone sleeps, you return to Aldrich's room. You find the false ledger again. And this time you copy it. Every page, every transaction, every bribe and false seal and fraudulent entry. It takes you 3 nights working by candlelight to finish. When you are done, you have a complete record of Aldrich's crimes and the corruption network that protects him. You hide the copy in a different location. Somewhere safe. Somewhere Aldrich will never think to look. And then you wait. Because Robert, the taster, said he would return in 6 months. That gives you time. Time to plan. Time to decide if you are brave enough to destroy the entire system. Time to figure out if Sarah's escape was just one small moment or the beginning of something larger. The winter deepens outside. The tavern stays warm, and you sit with your ledgers and your secrets and wait for spring to come. The decision to betray Aldrich does not come as a single moment of clarity. It comes as a slow accumulation of small horrors that eventually weigh more than fear. It is the new serving girl Margaret hires to replace Sarah. Her name is Emma, and she is 14 years old. Within a week, Aldrich has her in debt for 2 shillings. You watch her shoulders bend under the weight of it and remember Sarah's eyes. The trapped animal look. The knowledge that escape is impossible. It is the merchant who loses his horse and his dignity to a new gambler who takes Edmund's place at the table. This one is younger, smoother, more careful. He does not weight his dice. He simply marks the cards with tiny scratches that only he can read. The merchant leaves weeping, and you add another name to the list of lives destroyed. It is Brother William's sermon one Sunday morning about the sin of greed, while wine stains from last night's corruption still mark his robes. He preaches about hell, awaiting those who exploit the poor. The irony is so thick you can barely breathe. It is Margaret's face. You see it sometimes when she thinks no one is watching. The mask slips and underneath is something broken that will never fully heal. 20 years married to Aldrich. 20 years of being part of this machinery. She has forgotten what it feels like to be clean. These moments pile up like stones until one morning you wake and realize you have made your choice without consciously deciding. You are going to destroy Aldrich's network, not because you are brave, not because you are righteous, but because you cannot carry the weight of complicity anymore. The question is how. Robert the Taster will return. That is your weapon. But simply showing him the false ledger might not be enough. Aldrich has survived inspections before. He has friends in the guild, in the church, and the city government. One clerk's testimony might be dismissed as grudge or madness. You need more. You need witnesses. You need proof so overwhelming that even Aldrich's protectors cannot ignore it. You begin carefully. You start talking to the women who work in the tavern. Not just Emma, but the others. The washerwoman who comes twice a week, the baker's widow who supplies bread, the seamstress who mends torn clothing, each one trapped in small debts that never shrink, each one afraid to speak. You tell them nothing about your plans. You simply ask questions. How much do you owe? How long have you owed it? What do they charge you for? You write it all down in a separate ledger. Your own accounting of Aldrich's exploitation. 12 women, 47 shillings of debt between them. Some debts inherited from dead mothers or husbands. Debts that have been grown through fees and fines until the original amounts are forgotten beneath the accumulated weight of interest and penalties. You learn that this is not unique to Aldrich's Tavern. It is the same at the Black Swan down by the docks, the same at the Three Crowns near the cathedral, the same at 15 taverns across Bristol, all of them connected to Guildmaster Richard, all of them paying protection money, all of them trapping women in perpetual servitude through manufactured debt. The scale of it takes your breath away. This is not one bad man. This is an industry, a system built on exploitation and protected by corruption at every level. You think about Sarah often during these weeks of investigation. You do not know if she made it out of Bristol, if she found a ship, if she is safe somewhere or dead in a ditch. Agnes has heard nothing. Robert still lives with the old woman asking every Sunday when his mother will send for him. You tell yourself the not knowing is better than knowing she was caught. 2 months after her escape, Margaret approaches you in the early morning before the tavern opens. I know what you are doing, she says quietly. Your stomach drops. I am keeping accounts, same as always. Do not lie to me. I see you talking to the women. I see you writing things down that do not go in Aldrich's ledger. She sits down across from you. I know what you are planning, and I understand why. But have you thought about what happens when you succeed? Because someone has to stop this. That is not an answer. Her voice is sharp. When Aldrich falls, everyone connected to him falls too. The women you are trying to save will lose their positions. Their debts will be sold to other tavern keepers or declared uncollectible, and they will be thrown into debtor's prison. Your noble gesture will destroy the very people you want to help. This stops you. You have thought about bringing down the network, but not about what happens to the people trapped inside it when the structure collapses. What would you have me do? Pretend this is acceptable. Pretend that trapping women in debt slavery is just business as usual. I would have you think about consequences, about what comes after. You want to destroy Aldrich? Fine. But do you have a plan for the women when he is gone? Do you have a plan for yourself? Or are you just striking out because it makes you feel righteous and thus? She stands and returns to her work before you can answer. Her words haunt you because she is right. You have been so focused on the act of rebellion that you have not thought about what comes after. That night, you revise your plan. If you are going to destroy the network, you cannot just expose it. You need to replace it with something better. You need to ensure the women are protected. You need leverage. The answer comes from an unexpected source. Brother William arrives drunk one evening and sits at the bar muttering about his troubles. Apparently, the bishop has been asking questions about the church seals. Someone reported irregularities. Brother William is afraid his scheme with Aldrich will be discovered. You listen carefully. When he is drunk enough, you approach. Forgive me, brother, but I could not help overhearing. You sound troubled. He looks at you with bloodshot eyes. The church is full of vipers, always watching, always judging. Is there anything I can do to help? He laughs bitterly. Unless you can make a bishop forget what he has heard, there is nothing anyone can do. But there is something. And over the next hour, as Brother William drinks and talks, you extract a confession. He tells you everything. How long he has been selling fake church seals, how much money he has made, how many tavern keepers he has supplied. He is terrified the bishop will expose him and have him defrocked. You listen and nod and express sympathy. And you remember every word. The next day you write it all down. Brother William's confession in his own words as best you can recall them. It is not legally binding, but it is damning. You add it to your growing collection of evidence. 5 months later, word arrives that Robert the Taster will return in 1 month as scheduled. The inspection is set for the first Sunday in March. The date is set. You have 1 month to prepare. You approach the women again. This time you tell them the truth. You are going to expose Aldrich's fraud during the inspection. When that happens, the tavern will likely be shut down. But before it happens, you need them to document their testimony. Names, debts, how they were trapped, everything. Most refuse. They are too afraid. But 5 agree. 5 women willing to stand up and testify about what has been done to them. It is not enough. You need more. You need Margaret. You find her in the kitchen late one night after Aldrich has gone to bed. She is counting coins by candlelight, her face drawn and tired. I need your help, you say. She does not look up. I cannot help you. Cannot or will not. Does it matter? Yes, because if you cannot, I understand. You are trapped here, same as the others. But if you will not, I need to know why. She sets down the coins. Because I am tired, Thomas. I am so tired of fighting. I have been fighting for 20 years, fighting to survive, fighting to keep some small piece of myself that Aldrich has not devoured. And now you ask me to fight again. To risk everything? For what? So you can feel like you did the right thing. No, so those women have a chance at freedom. Freedom. She laughs, but there is no humor in it. Do you know what freedom costs? Everything. It costs everything you have and everything you are. And even then, it is not guaranteed. Sarah ran. Did she find freedom, or did she just trade one kind of cage for another? I do not know, but at least she chose her cage. That is something. Margaret is silent for a long time. Then she reaches beneath the counter and pulls out a leather satchel. She opens it and removes a stack of papers. These are the real ledgers going back 5 years. Every fraudulent transaction, every bribe, every fake seal, everything. You stare at them. Why are you giving these to me? Because I am tired of being part of this. Because I want to watch Aldrich burn. Because maybe, just maybe, if we destroy this place, I can finally sleep without nightmares. She pushes the papers toward you. But understand this. When Aldrich discovers what we have done, he will kill us both. Not quickly. He will make it hurt. He will make it last. Are you prepared for that? Yes. You say that now. Wait until you are actually facing it. But she does not take the papers back. Over the next 2 weeks, you build your case. The real ledgers from Margaret. Brother William's drunken confession. Testimony from 5 women. Your own documentation of the debt slavery system. Evidence of bribes to Guildmaster Richard and City Clerk Martin. It is enough. More than enough. When Robert the Taster sees this, he will have no choice but to act. The question is how to present it. You cannot simply hand him the documents. Aldrich would claim they are forgeries. You need a public confrontation, a moment where the truth cannot be denied or hidden. You decide to do it during church service. Brother William gives sermon every Sunday at St. Mary's Cathedral. The guild officials attend. The mayor attends. There will be witnesses. Respectable witnesses who cannot be intimidated or bribed. You tell Margaret the plan. She nods. It is risky. If the church guards throw you out before you can present the evidence, this all fails. I know, but I cannot think of a better option. Then we proceed. 3 days before the planned confrontation, everything nearly falls apart. Aldrich discovers Emma trying to run. She made it as far as the city gate before his men caught her. They drag her back to the tavern, and Aldrich beats her in the main room while everyone watches. A lesson, a warning. She is 14 years old, and her screams echo off the walls. The regulars look away. They have learned that interfering with Aldrich's rage only spreads the violence. Jeffrey is in prison. There is no one left with the strength or will to challenge him. You try to stop it. You step between Aldrich and Emma and tell him this is enough. He turns on you with eyes like murder. You think you can tell me how to run my business? I think beating a child makes you a monster. He hits you. Hard. Your vision goes white and you taste blood. When you can see again, you are on the floor and Aldrich is standing over you. You work for me. You live under my roof. You survive because I allow it. Do not forget that. He returns to beating Emma. Margaret pulls you away before you can do something stupid like attack him. That night, Emma dies. Her injuries were too severe. She simply stops breathing around midnight, and no amount of shaking or shouting brings her back. Aldrich has her body removed before dawn. Dumped somewhere, no burial, no prayer. Just gone as if she never existed. You sit in the dark and stare at your hands and understand that waiting for the right moment is a luxury Emma did not have. The confrontation happens the next day. Sunday morning, St. Mary's Cathedral is packed with the usual crowd of merchants and officials and common folk seeking salvation. Brother William stands at the pulpit preparing to deliver his sermon on charity and Christian duty. You enter through the side door. Margaret is with you. So are the 5 women willing to testify. You carry a satchel containing all the evidence. The service has already begun. Brother William is mid-sentence when you step forward. Forgive the interruption, you say. Your voice carries across the stone chamber. But I have evidence of crimes that must be presented before God and these witnesses. The crowd murmurs. Brother William's face goes pale. In the front pew, you see Guildmaster Richard and City Clerk Martin exchange worried glances. Robert the Taster is also present. He sits in the third pew, his stern face showing nothing. This is fortunate. You had hoped he would attend service, but were not certain. Guards, Brother William calls. Remove this man. 2 church guards move toward you, but before they can reach you, Margaret steps forward. Wait, she says. Her voice is clear and strong. This man speaks truth. I am Margaret, wife of Aldrich the tavern keeper. I have kept his books for 20 years. I can testify to fraud and corruption that reaches into this very church. The crowd's murmur grows louder. The guards hesitate. This is absurd, Brother William says, but his voice shakes. These people are clearly disturbed. Remove them. I am Robert the Taster. Robert stands. His official robes catch the light from the cathedral windows. King's Inspector for Western Counties. I will hear what they have to say. The guards step back. You open the satchel and remove the ledgers. These documents prove systematic fraud in Bristol's tavern trade. Aldrich has been watering wine and selling it at premium prices using fake church seals provided by Brother William. Brother William sputters. Lies, all lies. The seals bear your signature, Margaret says calmly. We have records of payments made to you. 10 shillings a month for 5 years. You hand the ledgers to Robert. He examines them carefully. His face shows nothing but his assistants make notes. Furthermore, you continue, Guildmaster Richard has been taking 30% of the fraud profits in exchange for advance warning of inspections. City Clerk Martin has been falsifying official records. The corruption extends through every level of Bristol's governance. Richard stands. This is outrageous. I demand these people be arrested for slander. Slander requires falsehood, Robert says quietly. These ledgers appear genuine. The handwriting matches official documents I have reviewed. One of the 5 women steps forward. Her name is Anne, and she is perhaps 30, worn thin by life. I have been trapped in debt bondage for 7 years. Aldrich charges me for food, for room for broken dishes I never broke. My debt has grown from 2 shillings to 8. I will die owing money to that man. Another woman speaks, then another. Each testimony adds weight to the accusations. The crowd is fully engaged now. Whispers spread like fire. Aldrich's name is spoken with anger. Brother William's with disgust. Then Aldrich himself arrives. He must have heard what was happening because he burst through the cathedral doors with 6 hired men at his back, all of them armed. Enough of this! His voice echoes through the sacred space. These people are liars and thieves. They stole from me, and now they try to destroy me with false accusations. The accusations are documented, Robert says. He holds up the ledgers. These are your business records. Your own handwriting. Forgeries made by this traitorous clerk I foolishly employed. I can verify the handwriting, Margaret says. I wrote half of these entries myself. Every word is true. Aldrich's face twists with rage. He draws his sword. In a church, in front of hundreds of witnesses, he has lost all reason. I will kill you myself, he says to Margaret. She does not flinch. You should have killed me 20 years ago, before I learned to hate you more than I fear death. He advances toward her. The hired men follow. The crowd scatters. People scream. The guards move to intervene, but Aldrich's men block them. This is falling apart. You step in front of Margaret unarmed, knowing you are about to die. Then something unexpected happens. Margaret grabs the communion chalice from the altar. It is heavy silver worth a fortune. She swings it with both hands and catches Aldrich across the face. The impact is sickening. His nose breaks. Blood sprays. He stumbles back, sword falling from his grip. 20 years, Margaret says. Each word is a hammer blow. 20 years I've waited to do that. The hired men hesitate, uncertain. Their employer is on the ground bleeding. The church is full of witnesses. This has gone far beyond their pay. Robert the Taster takes command. City guards arrest Aldrich, Guildmaster Richard, City Clerk, Martin and Brother William. Charges of fraud, corruption, false documentation, and assault with a weapon in a holy space. The city guards who had been watching from the back of the cathedral move forward. They have no love for corrupt officials. They bind the accused men efficiently. Aldrich is still on the ground, blood pouring from his ruined face. He looks at Margaret with eyes that promise murder. You have destroyed everything, he says. Good deed, she replies, and it deserved to be destroyed. They drag him away. Brother William weeps and protests his innocence. Richard curses. Martin maintains dignified silence. All of them are taken to the city jail. The cathedral empties slowly. People discuss what they witnessed. The story will spread through Bristol by nightfall. The network of corruption that has operated for years exposed in a single morning. You stand there feeling numb. It is done. You succeeded. But Margaret's earlier warning echoes in your mind, and what comes after the answer arrives sooner than expected. That afternoon, the Lord Mayor summons you and Margaret to the Guildhall. He is an older man, perhaps 60, with iron gray hair and a face that has seen everything corruption and politics can produce. You have created a situation, he says without preamble. We expose crimes, Margaret replies. Yes, crimes that implicate a guild master, a city clerk, and a church official. Do you understand the chaos this will cause? I understand it will bring justice. The mayor sighs. Justice and chaos often arrive together. The question now is what to do with you. We have broken no laws, you say. No, but you have disrupted the established order. That makes you dangerous. The established order was built on exploitation. Perhaps, but it was stable. Now we must rebuild. That will take time and effort. Meanwhile, 15 taverns have lost their protection network. Dozens of women are trapped in debts that will likely be sold to worse masters. You have set fire to a corrupt system without consideration for who gets burned in the flames. Margaret's face tightens. What would you have had us do allow it to continue? I would have had you come to me first. Work within the system to change it gradually. Instead, you forced a public confrontation that leaves me no choice but to prosecute men who have served this city for decades. Men who have also robbed and cheated and enslaved. Yes, all of that is true. But truth does not make the consequences easier to manage. He stands and walks to the window overlooking Bristol's streets. Aldrich will hang. The charges are too severe and too public to allow any other outcome. Brother William will be defrocked and imprisoned. Richard and Martin will face lesser punishments, but their careers are finished. That is justice, you say, perhaps. But what about the women? The ones whose testimony helped convict these men? Do you think the other tavern keepers will employ them now? They are marked as troublemakers, informants. No respectable business will touch them. This you had not considered. In your focus on bringing down the network, you failed to think about how the victims would be perceived by the community. The mayor continues, and the tavern itself. What happens to it? Aldrich's property will be seized and sold. The proceeds will go to the crown. The women working there will be unemployed. During winter, with no prospects. Margaret speaks. The tavern should be given to the workers. Let them run it cooperatively. Let them pay off their debts through honest labor and keep the profits. The mayor raises an eyebrow. An interesting idea, unconventional but not without precedent. I will consider it. He returns to his seat. You are both free to go. The crown thanks you for your service in exposing this corruption. But understand that you have made enemies, powerful enemies. Men who are connected to Aldrich's network will not forget what you did. Watch your backs. You leave the guild hall with your stomach churning. You won. But the victory feels hollow. Over the next 3 months, the consequences of that Sunday morning play out across Bristol. Aldrich is hanged in the public square. He dies cursing Margaret's name. You do not attend the execution, but you hear about it from those who did. They say he showed no remorse, only rage. Brother William is imprisoned for 10 years, stripped of his holy orders. The last you hear, he is working in the prison laundry. Guildmaster Richard is pilloried for 3 days, then branded as a fraud and exiled from Bristol. He leaves for London in disgrace. City Clerk Martin is dismissed from his position and banned from holding public office. He becomes a scribe for hire, fallen from power into poverty. The 15 taverns connected to the network undergo reform. Some close, others are taken over by new owners who promise to operate honestly. Whether they do is uncertain. The 5 women who testified are indeed marked. Most cannot find legitimate work. 2 leave Bristol entirely. 1 dies from sickness that winter. The surviving 2 eventually find positions in households willing to overlook their past. But Margaret's suggestion about the tavern is accepted. The building is not sold. Instead, it is placed under the management of a cooperative run by the women who work there. Margaret leads them. She negotiates new supply contracts, establishes honest prices, refuses to engage in fraud or exploitation. The first year is brutal. They barely survive. But slowly reputation builds. People begin to trust that this tavern operates fairly. Business improves. You work with them as a clerk, keeping honest books. Your pay is modest, but you no longer have to record crimes while pretending not to notice. Sarah never returns. You do not know what happened to her. Sometimes you imagine she made it to a distant city and built a new life. Other times you fear she died trying. The not knowing is a weight you carry. Robert continues to live with Agnes, waiting for word that never comes. 2 years after the confrontation, a letter arrives. It is addressed to Agnes, but she brings it to you because her eyes can no longer make out the words. You break the seal and read. The letter is from a ship captain in Plymouth. It is brief. A woman and boy matching the descriptions you provided boarded his vessel bound for the Low Countries 2 years past. They worked their passage. The woman could cook. The boy learned to mend nets. He does not know where they went after landing. But they were alive when they left his ship. You read the letter to Agnes, then you read it to Robert. The boy is 8 now, old enough to understand that his mother tried, that she did not abandon him, that somewhere across the sea she might still be alive and thinking of him. It is not closure, but it is something. Geoffrey is released from prison after serving 6 months. He returns to the tavern one evening and buys a drink from Margaret. You pour him ale. On the house, he nods. Worth it, he says simply. They drink together in silence. Some debts cannot be repaid with words. Emma is buried in the church cemetery. Margaret pays for a proper stone with her name and dates. 14 years old. The stone says nothing about how she died. Some truths are too bitter to carve in granite. You visit each Sunday after services. The grave is near the tavern. You keep it clean. Margaret joins you sometimes. You do not speak. Some griefs have no words. 1 year after the confrontation, you stand in the tavern on a quiet afternoon. The floor has fresh rushes. The smoke still stings your eyes, but less than before because Margaret installed a better chimney. The food is simple but honest. The ale is fairly priced. It is not perfect. It will never be perfect. But it is better. A young man enters. He looks uncertain like you did a year ago, fresh from somewhere else, looking for work or shelter or just a warm place to rest. You approach him. First time in Bristol. Yes, sir, I am looking for honest work. I heard this tavern might have a position. We might. Can you read and write? A little, sir. That is enough to start. You gesture to a table. Sit. We will talk about what work means here, what we expect, what we offer in return. He sits and you begin to explain. Not just the job, but the philosophy, fair wages, no debt traps, no debt, no exploitation. It sounds idealistic, and perhaps it is. But ideals are all that separate this place from what it was before. The young man listens carefully. When you finish, he asks, wow, is it true what they say that you helped bring down a corruption network? It is true, but I did not do it alone. Many people made that choice together. Why did you do it? You think about Walter and your brother, about Emma dying on the floor while Aldrich beat her, about Sarah running into the night with nothing but hope. Because someone had to, you say finally, and I was tired of being someone who watched instead of someone who acted. He nods slowly. I would like to work here. Then you are hired. Oh, welcome to the tavern. He smiles. It's a small moment. But small moments you have learned are how change actually happens. That night you sit with Margaret and the other women going over accounts. The tavern turned a small profit this month. Not much, but enough to make modest improvements. Enough to pay everyone fairly. We did it, one of the women says. We survived a year. Margaret nods. Now we survive another year. And another. One day at a time. You think about Aldrich's words before he died. You have destroyed everything. He was right in a way. You did destroy the network he built. The system of exploitation. The machinery of suffering. But you also built something new from the ashes. It is imperfect, fragile, constantly threatened by the same forces that created the old system. But it exists. And every day it exists is a small victory against the tide of corruption that sweeps through places like this. You close the ledger for the night. Tomorrow you will open it again and continue the work. Recording honest transactions. Building something that might last. The tavern door opens and the cold wind rushes in along with the new customers, workers from the docks, merchants finishing their day, common people looking for warmth and fair dealing. You serve them honestly, you charge them fairly, you treat them with dignity. This is not the story that the old tales tell. There is no dramatic final battle, no complete victory, just the daily grinding work of maintaining something decent in a world that constantly pushes toward exploitation and decay. But it is enough. Some nights when the tavern is quiet and you are alone with your thoughts, you wonder about all the taverns across England, across Europe, all the places where the same patterns of exploitation continue unchallenged. You cannot save them all. You cannot even save most of them. But you save this one. And perhaps someone in another city will hear the story of what happened in Bristol, how a tavern keeper's corruption was exposed, how a network fell, how the women who were enslaved took control and built something better. Perhaps that story will inspire another clerk or serving girl or soldier to stand up and fight. Small moments leading to other small moments. Change moving like water through stone, slow but inevitable. The fire burns low. Margaret banks it for the night. The women finish cleaning and head to their rooms they own now, beds they sleep in without fear. You extinguish the last candle and lock the door. Outside, Bristol sleeps under winter stars. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new customers, new struggles to maintain what you have built. But tonight the work is done. And in this one corner of the medieval world, justice won. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Always barely enough.